Hi folks, welcome to today's process video. Okay, so obviously another badly drawn dolphin comic, although at this point I think, and this isn't to toot my own horn, but I think calling it badly drawn dolphin is kind of a, what's the term? Misnomer? Misnomer, is that the term? Perhaps. Because, yeah, this is definitely my most involved badly drawn dolphin comic yet in terms of the art, and of course that extends to the colors as well. So let's talk about that. So, not to give up a good thing, but with the past few comics, I've been kind of experimenting with colors. I've mentioned in the past videos that I really want to kind of go for colors that aren't out of the tube, so to speak, and I wanted to do that with this comic as well. So with the sand that we see in the foreground, I, instead of going with just yellow to begin with, I actually went with, I'm sure you can see it there as I'm talking, but I went with kind of like a reddish pinkish color. And I gradually added some yellow to that as I went along. Like there was a point where I was actually thinking of just leaving it entirely pink, but I think adding just the touch of yellow kind of helped in the end. It just adds a certain something to it, I find. Then in the last panel, the sky. I've been very fond of doing green skies in my comics of late, and this one is no different. There's something about a green sky that looks quite nice, I find, in in illustration. Not only does it look unique, I mean it's not all that often you would see a green sky, if ever. Maybe clouds during like a particularly intense thunderstorm, but the actual sky itself, I mean, I'm looking outside now, and even though it's not precisely blue, definitely not green. No. But I find that going for a green sky, it immediately grabs your attention, I think. And in this case, it adds to the weird atmosphere of what's happening in that last image of dolphin being revealed to have human legs. Um, and yeah, I think if I had just like an ordinary blue sky in the background, it wouldn't have been quite as striking. And just talking about that last panel, just to make it more impactful, I decided to make a dolphin a bit more creepy looking through the use of lighting, where I added some like backlighting to dolphins simply by filling in the shade layer, hitting multiply, and then I just cut around the edges of dolphin and just deleted the bits I wanted to be lit. And on top of that, I also added just a slight rim light effect, just a touch of green to the edges of dolphin. Um, you know, to give the impression of the this weird light from the sky hitting dolphin from the back. Another thing I needed to do, which actually kind of adds to the oh my god, excuse me, I don't know where that yawn came from. Anyways, another thing I did in that last panel, just to incorporate dolphin into the scene a bit more, was if you look closely, you can see that I added just a touch of a reflection of his feet and legs in the water. Now it's not all that much, but it's just a little touch that just makes makes the character feel more a part of the scene when you do something like that. Moving on from there, the pizza. If you look at it in the third panel, I I wanted that pizza to look as nice and delicious as possible, which is why I've gone for kind of a more hand painted kind of look to it. Not that it is, it doesn't quite look hand painted, but it has that kind of effect. And you'll notice that I colored its line work as well to make it look more real. Now, when I say real in inverted commas, but it looks a bit more solid and grounded this way. It looks more like a physical object than just a simple cartoon drawing of a pizza. And I'm sure you've noticed with a lot of my comics, I do very much like going for that effect. In fact, the last badly drawn dolphin comic I did that again with the third panel, where if you remember, I took Dolphin and made him look real, kind of. But yeah, I went for that kind of more rounded, kind of highly rendered kind of effect. Um, what else can I talk about here? Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing. The just to make the last panel look even more creepy, where I colored in Dolphin's eyes from the usual little dots of black to white. And of course, that adds to the creepiness of it. But at first, it didn't quite work. It just, it just, it looked off. It just looked like two, like errors on the image, if you know what I mean. It looked like two bits of dust or something that were stuck on the image and that happened to get colored white. So to incorporate the eyes more into Dolphin's head in that last panel, I took I went to the multiply layer, the shade layer, which I have set to multiply. I set that back to normal. I color dropped the color, um, or yeah, I used the color dropper tool on that color, and I took that and I went for a slightly darker tone. I set the shade layer back to multiply, and then using kind of like a paintbrush style tool, I just lightly colored in around, under and around Dolphin's eyes, and that gives kind of like this like dark effect around the eyes, almost giving the impression of eye sockets, and like his eyes being deep within these eye sockets. And adding that darker tone, it allows the white of the eyes to contrast very nicely with that. Because when you think about it, when you see somebody with intense eyes, especially in illustration, you find, obviously artists want to work well with contrast, so the whites of the eyes will contrast with the darkness of the eye socket. Like obviously, if you have white against black in art, it'll make it stand out all the more, and vice versa. Um, so yeah, just a simple little trick, but it just really makes the eyes pop in that last panel. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to talk about with this one. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you at the next video. Oh, and have a good weekend. Take care.